Now that we have tagged some regions here, let's create mesh out of it. To do that, use mesh tag region. Now we can we can mesh these tagged regions individually, or we can merge them into a single ply file, mesh file. So -1 means mesh all the tagged regions. So in this case, all these three regions that we had tagged will be meshed. So let's try that. Now, how do we color the mesh that we are going to generate? So there are options of using tag color, so using these colors here, or using transfer function color, so the colors that we have in this transfer function here, or merge the two colors, the tag color and the transfer function. So the colors that you see here in this voxel display are the mixed colors of the tag and the transfer function, and that's why you see these dark lines or um, clear the pale regions mixed with the color of the tag. Then you can also use tag mask. So this region that we painted is used as a mask within which we apply the transfer function, and then the opacity of the transfer function is used to generate the mesh. And then you can also give user color. So let's take default, let's take tag color. So what we should now see is these three tag regions colored as the the colors that you see here, without any modification from the transfer function. So okay, then give the name of the file. Now you have an option of closing the hole. So if there are tiny holes in your on the surface or inside the mesh, then you can close them. So for the time being, because we know that there are no holes, I'll just keep it as it is. 0 means no closing. You can apply some smoothing. So let's say basic smoothing here, and that's the mesh is generated. So this is the mesh that was generated. So let's have a look at that in the program, this mesh lab program, which is a free software. So let's drag and drop this ply file, and let's see how it looks. So this is how it looks. This is how the mesh looks like. Okay, now let's create the a smooth version of the same dataset. So let's go through that again. So when tag colors, say tag smooth, and let's apply a bigger smoothing. So 5 is the highest smoothing parameter, so more smoothing basically. Done. So we have created that one here. So let's drag and drop that file. So this is the smooth dataset. So this is what the smoothing does to your mesh, and this is the original with one smoothing one. So let's have a look. So that's the smooth version. Now you can also mesh these or create surface mesh of these individually. So for that, you just give the tag numbers. So for example, I want to only tag 1 and 2. So 1 space 2 means tag regions that regions that were tagged by 1 and then 2. So do that again, use tag color, or you can use say tag color and transfer function as a combination, and then tags 1 and 2, no holes, and again let's apply some smoothing. So let's bring that in, and it's done. So let's drag and drop that one here. Now this is the one with it's textured with the transfer function, but it is smooth. It looks jagged because of the just the texture, but it is smooth. So this is just selecting the individual tags for meshing. Now let's try option. So let me just change the transfer function. Yeah, that's the transfer function. Um, Let me just check how much of the opacity. Okay, okay. Now what I want to do now is use the transfer function and then mask and then create the surface mesh using this transfer function as the using the opacity of this transfer function. So let's mesh this region. Now instead of -1 or 1 or 2 and so on, what I will do is I'll use -2 as the option. So what it will do is it will ignore all these tags that we had painted, or the curves or the fibers, and then use the opacity of the transfer function. So it will use this, what we see here, it will be using that to surface the mesh. So -2, and then we can give a color. So let's select a color and say TF01, and then we won't plug the holes. In the next month we will plug the holes and we'll see the difference between this version and the plugging holes version. So no holes to plug, just basic smoothing. So now this mesh will be bigger in terms of number of vertices, because it's a bit more complicated than the previous ones. So smoothing takes a bit longer. So it's almost there. Done. So this is the new file here. So drag and drop, and this is the mesh. So this is the mesh here. Similarly, we can use this one and then mesh it. And then what we can do is then plug these holes here. So again, extract mesh, say -2, say use color, say TF02. No, don't plug the holes, just apply basic. Let me remove that. The new mesh will be like a dual of the current mesh, this mesh here. Okay, so TF2, let's drag and drop that one. So that was the first mesh, this is the second mesh. Now in the next one, what we'll do is we'll try to plug these holes here and just keep these bigger ones. So again, the same transfer function, but now in this one we will plug the holes. So -2 again, and then user color, say TF03, and now let's plug, say, I think the holes, these ones would be probably 5 voxels, so let's see, 4 voxels, and then basic smoothing. So now it's plugging the holes. So what it will do is it will basically dilate this boundary here, and then erode that again. So it's basically the closing operation. And to do that, what it will do is find the boundary voxels and then apply dilation. Again, find the boundary voxels for the dilated volume and then erode it. Okay, so it's created. Let's drag and drop the second one. So this is the new volume. So let's go inside and see. And this is the the volume or the mesh that was not that didn't have hole plugin, whereas the new one here, it has got the holes plugged in. There are tiny bits remaining, so we could have used instead of parameter to plug the holes. So hole size as 4, we could have used hole size as 5 and we would have been fine. So what we are now able to do is basically keep the only the big channels and plug in all the small channels here. Same thing we can do for other data sets, basically plugging the holes, uh, small holes, or small channels. So as you can see, these are the big channels that are kept open, and the small channels are all blocked.